So you have a main of one class and you want to jump into a different class. I have a Demon Hunter as my main, but you also have other ones, or maybe you have a different spec that's the same that you want to just dive into and explore. How do you jump into another class that you're not familiar with, another spec that you're not familiar with? That's exactly what I'm here to help you with. So I have a bunch of 70s. They're mainly tanks. I have some healers down here. We're going to go on to the Druid. And I've had some requests from my patrons. Shout out to my patrons. Thank you for helping make this whole thing possible. But Restoration Druid. I've had 3 different patrons ask about Restoration Druid keybinds, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to do a full dive into Restoration Druid. I've played this game for over a decade. I've played a Restoration Druid before, but not in Dragonflight and not recently. So here we go. I've mainly played Discipline Priest, and I tried some Evoker recently. But this is my Guardian Druid. Very much set up to be a Guardian Druid. All my keybinds are Guardian Druid, bear form, all that good stuff. I'm ready to go, right? All my keybinds are set up for that. But I want to do Restoration. And I also want to learn Restoration and Restoration talents. It seems like there's a lot to do, but I'm here to get you the simple, most streamlined, effective way. And maybe you're already this class, and you want to really make sure you're doing it right, if you get what I'm saying. So first thing you got to do is open up that talent page. There's my little baby druid. Nothing too special there. So talents. Here's my guardian talents. Whatever specialization, we're switching it on over. But which talents do you do? Do you want to do the simple ones that Blizzard put out there? Probably not. The talents probably would not be optimal, nor would they be customized to you in any way. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove this, remove all of this, and remove everything, right? And so I have a Mythic Plus healer situation right here. And this is kind of something I've done before for Restoration Druid, but I want to show you guys where this thing came from. So I'm going to open up a new loadout. I'm going to call it YouTube. And so there's this, and I'm going to clear it out entirely. That's exactly what I would do. I'd clear it out down to nothing, and I'd clear it out down to nothing. Here we are. Now here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to Murloc.io. I love this place. I love this place for talents, for almost anything. You have every single class in the game, and once you pick the talent, you can pick which specialization. We're going to do Restoration, and then you can pick which game mode, right? We can do PvP game modes, rated battlegrounds, Mythic Plus. If I'm going to be healing, I'm going to be healing in Mythic Plus, so I'm going to click this. If for rating, you're going to have to probably go check in Icy Veins and Wowhead and all that kind of stuff to get a talent build for this, but this is just too good. This is just too good what I'm showing you guys. It shows the top people. It shows the stat priorities. You got to write that down. Okay, so haste is really important. Okay, good to know. And then, okay, Night Elf, Troll, whatever, cool. Oh, Zandalar, there we go. There's me right there. So now, here is what we're looking at here. This is the talents. You can see the orange and how many people of the top 50 people, how many people have these talents. And as we can tell, there's a certain path that's pretty obvious, and the purple is a little bit like the majority did, but not everybody, right? This is how I build my talents out. I go through and I start building out from there. So in fact, you know what? We could even do this. Let me switch this into this little side mode here. See if this works. See if this works, right? Can y'all see this? Okay, cool. So I'm going to be going through here, and I'm going to say, okay, literally everybody's picking these. So I'm going to grab this one, grab this one, grab this one. Definitely grabbing this one. Okay, cool. And then what else we got? Cleansing Touch, and then the Primal thing. So Cleansing Touch, and then the Primal thing. Okay, cool. All right, now we open up the next thing, and we keep going down. But as I'm doing this, I'm not going to do this here because I'm not trying to, like, you know, go teach you how to do a Restoration Druid. That's not what this video is about. But as I put in these points, and these are locked in, like I'm doing these points, right? Maybe I'll change them up once I have a little bit more experience in this class that you're playing. But I'm going to be like, all right, here we go. Rake, okay, cat form thing. I'm going to read through what each of these things do and why that people would maybe have them, right? And so I'm like, okay, cleansing, okay, ooh, magic damage and healing increase, okay, straight throughput, okay. And as you're going through to pick things, like you see that they pick this one. So there's an option here, and instead of picking the Tiger Dash speed, they pick the Wild Charge for you to fly to an ally's position. Okay. So I'm seeing what they're picking, right? Across the board. And if I go back to here, you're going to go down, and there's now this talent tree. This one's a little bit more open. You see how it's a little more open? There's a little bit more purples. There's a little bit more flexibility. So I would do the oranges to make sure that I don't mess up the things that you should obviously get, right? To set myself up for success, really. And then I'm going to kind of make choices between the purples, reading it along the way. But at least I know whatever the heck this is, I'm not picking it. And probably won't be picking this thing either. I'm probably going to pick the best things, because if I'm a noob right now in this class or spec, I want to set myself up as best as I can, right? So that now is what I've done. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to skip that part for you. Go back to big here, and I'm going to go and do the thing I already did to get my spec going, right? So now I have the spec that I did. I've done that process already and went through and made all the choices and read all the stuff, right? Cool. So now I have my talent spec. That's how I would recommend for you to get your talent spec, right? So we're good with that. Now, what the heck does a restoration druid do? So I'm going to go to Icy Veins or Wowhead, whichever one. In general, I tend to go to Icy Veins first, and I look for like a rotation type of thing, and I can grab that and look at that. So here it is, Restoration Druid utility. Here it is, Restoration Druid rotation, right? I know healers and tanks don't really have rotations compared to what DPS would have, but at least gets you some idea of what's going on here. So I can see from here, Adaptive Swarm and Efflorescence is really important. With whatever verdancy is, who knows what that is. Life Bloom, I'm familiar with Life Bloom. Okay, keep it on the tank. Okay, cool. And use Cenarian Ward on cooldown. Swift Mend activate stuff. Regrowth is an emergency heal. Okay, so I'm just going to have this here. Whatever I gleaned from that, I'll maybe reference here in just a second when I'm now doing this. So, this is now the process here. I have taken my keybinds here and I have cleared them out, right? The only thing you see here is my Hearthstone. These are all my keybinds all set up, just like my keyboard. I have A, Q, W, R, T, G, Z, X, C, V, H, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have all of those things set up right there, ready for me to go. But one thing that I forgot to reference and check myself on is I want to make sure that I am similar to my other specs. So if I have a Vengeance Demon Hunter as my main tank, and I want to play Havoc, I want to have a similar feel, so I'm not like feels like I'm in a completely different body. So I'm going to take my cell phone here, and I'm going to take a picture of my loadout right now. I'm literally taking a picture. I'm doing this here with you guys. I'm taking a picture of my abilities right here. I'm also going to shift out of bear form and taking a picture of what's in my human form. And now I have a reference point of what I am actually doing here, and I can like hold it right here and then go for it. So now whenever I go into my talents and I switch back to restoration, I can easily similarly line up what abilities are help me feel most at home, right? So I have cleared out everything else, and here we go. I'm going to start laying out all the talent points here. So I got my Book of Professions, and I'm going to go to General. I'm going to make sure I grab any sort of Embrace the Loa. I got that right there. That's a Zandalar thing. Pterodax Swoop. I always put Pterodax Swoop. In fact, do I have it in here? Yeah, Pterodax Swoop. I usually put on like Control mouse button, right? Because Pterodax Swoop, I'm not going to be using that often. I'm also a druid that has flight form, but you can't use it in the Dragon Isles. So whatever. Everything. Oh, regenerating. I always put regenerating on Shift W. That's usually my thing, and I'm looking down to check my thing. Shift W, it checks out. Cool. And now I've done my racial thing. Awesome, great. And now we're in the druid section. So one thing I would recommend is to start with your specialization instead of starting with your class. Your specialization's going to be kind of probably the things you use more often, so we're going to go with that. And I'm going to double tab back out here. Adaptive Swarm is one of the things that look familiar, and Adaptive Swarm is the first thing there. So that feels great. One thing I also noticed is Adaptive Swarm, it says Shadowlands. That's strange that it says Shadowlands. So that makes me uncomfortable, but I guess that's just coming from Shadowlands, so who knows. But either way, this is a 25-second cooldown. Command a Swarm that heals shadow damage, or command a Swarm that heals this much or deals shadow damage over time. Increase the effectiveness in your periodic expiration. So the big thing I know is it's a very important heal, especially since I've looked that up, and it's a 25-second cooldown. So I'm going to put this in the offensive category, and I like to sort my stuff here. I'm going to sort my things here. I'm going to put offensive things here, defensive things here, maybe utility things here, and just kind of keep organizing my bar so I can like keep things where I don't necessarily know floating around until I do know, and then I can put them down, right? Cenarian Ward, that was another important one. Another 30-second cooldown though. So there's a lot of cooldowns so far. I need to know what are my go-to constantly pressing abilities. Protects a friendly target for 30 seconds. Damage taken consumes the ward. Super simple. I'm putting that right there next to this. Convoke. I'm very familiar with Convoke. This is a big cooldown. A 2-minute cooldown. I'm going to put this further down the line. So we have shorter cooldowns, longer cooldowns. Convoke is a big thing. It's a big 2-minute cooldown where you call upon all your stuff and you're casting a whole bunch of craziness, right? Love that spell. Efflorescence. Now, we're referencing back to here. Ooh, that's a very important one. Keep Efflorescence down. Okay, cool. So it's the best spell. Okay. It's a really good spell. So Efflorescence also doesn't have a cooldown. I'm now very interested in efflorescence. Grows a healing blossom in the target location, restoring health. So I'm going to take this. Oh, it's a ground target reticle. So this seems to be an area of effect thing. I know I always have area of effect things on G. G is my area of effect button. Also, I use ESDF. If people don't know this by now about me, I use ESDF. G is always my area of effect. It's my death and decay. It's my area of effect type of things. Consecration on paladin, whatever it is. So now G is my area of effect thing. And there we go. And there's my thing. Okay, cool. Keep this down always. G feels like a great spot for that. Okay, great. Look at that. Look at that. It's very easy to keep down. Seems like I'm going to be pressing it a lot, so G's a great spot for it. I found this home for it now. Awesome. And I'm also not worried about the competing with the Bear Druid, because with G and Bear Druid was Thrash, and I'm not going to be thrashing like that in here. And when I shift into Bear form, it's a different button anyway, so we're good. Flourish, it's an instant ability, a minute and a half cooldown. I'm putting that next to Convoke. It's over a minute cooldown. Iron Bark, defensive. Here we go. The target's skin becomes tough as ironwood, reducing damage taken. Ooh, the target's skin. So this is a healer cooldown. I'm putting it right here next to this. It's not. I thought this was going to be a self-defensive. So, okay, interesting. Life Bloom, another thing, no cooldown. As soon as my eyeballs look at here, I'm seeing, I guess I can't use my mouse, but like right here, it doesn't have a cooldown. So this is going to be a mainstream healing ability. So I'm going to put this right here, just on R. Because Life Bloom, I know Life Bloom's super important. So I'm going to keep it right there. And you're going to put it on the tank. So I'm going to put Life Bloom right there. And we'll see if anything comes in and trumps it. Nature's Call, Nature's Cure is a cure. This is your cure effect. Cures a target, removing disease and spells and stuff. That always goes on V. And I look down and there's my V. Awesome, great, right? So V is always my cleanse type situation. If I can cleanse, remove, that is always the button here across all classes. Any sort of cleanse, remove, dispel type thing is always V. So that's obviously, it has a home there. Nature's Swiftness. I'm very familiar with Nature's Swiftness. And your next regrowth, rebirth, or entangling roots is instant. Awesome. That's another cooldown, right? You see I have my long-term cooldowns, short cooldowns. I'm just building it all out here. Revitalize. No cooldown. Returns a dead party member. Oh, okay. So that's going to be my resurrection. And I always have resurrections on control shift up. So I control and then shift mouse wheel up is a resurrection. That always feels right for that. Cool. Tranquility. Big 3-minute cooldown. Look at that. Big 3-minute cooldown. In fact, another thing here I'm going to do, I'm going to switch Nature's Swiftness and Convoke right here. This is a short 1-minute cooldown, 2-minute cooldown, 3, and it's longer cooldowns as I get up here. So I'm just keeping things organized. Entangling Bark is a passive PvP, and that's passive. Okay, so that is our class abilities. Now I'm going to go to the Druid abilities. Bark Skin, your skin. Okay, so this is a self-defensive, all right? So that's going to be a little bit different. I'm putting this all the way over here to the far right. Is that as far as I can go? Yeah, as far as I can go. Bear Form, I know where I'm putting Bear Form. I'm putting Bear Form on, actually, I'm going to do, how I do my Bear Forms. I have a macro for these things. I have a whole video on macros that people have been thankful for, and I appreciate everybody swinging by live streams and stuff and saying thanks for all the different stuff I do with these videos. But this is a bear form. It's a slash cast brackets no bear form :1 : which means it keeps me in bear form basically. So if I put this on shift mouse wheel down, I have cat form on shift mouse wheel up, I have travel form on Z, and I have human form on X, right? So these are all these are cancel auras and stuff. I can put all these druid forms in the description for macros, and I have a whole macro video to take care of that. But now I can hold down shift mouse wheel down on bear form, hold down shift mouse wheel up, I'm in cat form. Z gives me travel form, and X gives me back to human form. And if I press Z to go into travel form, and I press it again, I stay in travel form, right? So it gives me a little bit more control over accidentally shifting out of forms, which is very important for a Guardian Druid, but not as important for a Restoration Druid. But here's an interesting spot that I'm in that I've never heard of people talk about. I am a Guardian Druid first, right? And then if I want to branch out and do and play around with Feral, play around with this, I want to keep as many core things the same as I possibly can. So now, it might not be the most optimal. I probably would put Nature's Swiftness at shift mouse wheel up because that's what I used to have it at, and that feels right, and that feels like a good spot for it. But that's my cat form, and I don't want to sabotage my main specs, thing, and then it'd be weird. Like, oh, cat form in this spec is this, but cat form in this spec is something different. Ooh, that feels weird, right? So I'm going to keep it the same, and we'll see if we can make it work. Let's see how many buttons druids have to press. So dash now, and I'm consulting my consulting my chart here, and you can see dash is caps lock. So dash is going to go on the caps lock button right there. That feels right. Caps lock. I'm sprinting like a little cat. Awesome. Great. Cool. Dreamwalk. That's my. It's just that's something that's not something you have to put on a keybind. That's just a travel type button. Entangling roots. That's going to be interesting. This is a crowd control type of situation. Entangling roots on my main situation is in my human form. So I'm looking down, and it's my human form, and it's on my mouse buttons over here. So entangling roots is on my mouse buttons, and it's my third mouse button. On my mouse button, I usually have the front mouse button. The front mouse button closest to my hand be interrupt, and then this is a stun of some kind, and then this is a CC of some kind, right? And then these buttons up here are cooldowns, and those buttons are all represented. Oh, I just shifted into cat form, haha. And those buttons are all represented right. Where'd my entangling roots go? Disappeared. This little grid right here of 3 buttons. These 9 buttons right here. This 3x3 grid are my mouse buttons. They're all organized in a row, right? So entangling roots feels good right there. There we go. Entangling roots. Awesome. Ferocious bite, cat form. That's a cat thing, right? So I'm going to shift into cat form real quick. That's bear form. I'm going to shift into cat form real quick and put this on my cat bar. I'm just going to put it anywhere on my cat bar, and I'm going to remove that. And then why is this changing as well? That's interesting that all of that changes. Those bars are changing now. I probably need to change that for but it's not a bar that I use. That's interesting. I didn't know. It has to do with paging in Dominoes, which I could fix up, and that's not going to be a problem here. All right, anyway. So now if I go into cat form, I have my ferocious bite right there. We're good. And for some reason it has growl in there, which is bear form, so I'm going to take that off. And then I have rake, which is also a cat thing, and shred, which is also a cat thing, all inside my cat bar only contained in my cat bar. If you want to know how paging works and all the different bars, I did a thing for it in Dominoes and in Bartender, so I have videos for that too. All right, so now we're going to keep going through this list. Ferocious bites there. Growl is a bear form only thing, so I'm going to go. Growl is always C. Growl is always C, no matter what. It's always my taunt button, so there we go. And we'll see if that matters or if I need more buttons there, but there we go. That's going to be C. I really don't know how many times a Restoration Druid is going to need to shift into bear form and taunt something. I just highly doubt that that's going to be something that's regularly occurs. So Incapacitating Roar, a crowd control. And I'm probably going to be putting that next to my crowd control because this is where the stun goes, fear and interrupt, something like that, right? So that goes there. It feels good. Innervate, another long cooldown. I'm putting that right here. So we have all our cooldowns right here that I'm about to put in place. Iron Fur is a bear form only thing. And in general, in my bear form, now this is interesting because in my bear form, Iron Fur is mouse wheel down. It's gonna Iron Fur is mouse scroll wheel down, right? Which I can tell you right now, there's no way it's gonna be mouse scroll wheel down for my druid right now because that's just too high priority of a button. I can't have, in the same way that G is thrash for my bear. Like what are you talking about? No, I'm not gonna do that. So what I'm gonna do for Iron Bark, I'll just throw it away. I'm gonna shift in the bear form and I'm gonna put Iron Fur on W because in general. And I'm gonna throw that away. In general, I know that's gonna be supposed to scroll up, but I should probably just throw that off the bar. Sorry. In general, I know that my tanks W is usually some sort of defensive type ability, so that's gonna feel fine. And how many times I'm gonna be shifting into this and doing Iron Fur? Probably not as much as I'm gonna be actually healing, right? Mangle is another bear ability. I'm putting the Mangle thing there. I can get rid of this. It's on my bear bar because it's a bear only ability. Mark of the Wild, always I'm going to put on H. That's just my group buff. H is a really far button to press, so I only usually put like Battle Shout, Priest Fortitude, whatever on there. Moonfire. Okay, now we're getting into an interesting territory. We're going to shift back to human form. Moonfire is a damaging ability, and I don't know how often I'm going to be damaging as a healer. I don't know how often they do that, so that's going to be something I'm like... I don't feel like it's going to be that often, so I'm going to come in over here and I'm going to put this in a weird spot. I'm going to put this maybe on like 4 or 5 or something, right? So 4 and 5, in general, my rotation stays around A, Q, W, R, T, G, right next to my movement keys. And then 3, 4, and 5 are situational stuff. And then 1 and 2 are always health stones. So 1's always going to be a health stone. 2 is always the health potion, or in this case for my druid, it's probably going to be a mana potion, whatever. So that takes care of that. Moonfire's there, cool. Nature's Visual, another cooldown for 30 seconds. All single target healing also damages nearby enemy targets for 20%. So it's like a little bit of damage offense thing right there. That's interesting. I'm going to put that right there. That's kind of cool. Prowl on my druid is always the topmost mouse button right here. So that's going to be my mouse button. I shift in and out of that. No problem. That's obvious. And that's the same as my Guardian Druid, so that's why that was such an easy decision. Rake in cat form is fine right there. Rebirth, ooh, Resurrection. Oh, nice. You know what? I'm gonna cancel my Pterodax Swoop. My Pterodax Swoop right here. Sorry, Pterodax Swoop. I'm gonna demote you down to here, because any class that ever has a rebirth, like a Death Knight, a Raised Dead, or whatever, some sort of battle res, is always control middle mouse. So I can be like, ooh, control middle mouse, and it's always the same. So I gotta keep that there. And Pterodax Swoop, I'm sorry, I'm just not really gonna use you that often. Regrowth, okay. Regrowth is an emergency cast heal. I'm not going to be spamming it necessarily. I'm going to be using some other cooldowns, but it's definitely going to be usable. First of all, I should shift out of, there we go, now we're here. So Regrowth, I'm going to put that on W. I'm going to put that on W also because it's a casted heal, right? I like to put instant abilities on the right side of my hand and casted abilities on the left side of my hand. So instant abilities being, Life Bloom, this thing right here, whatever, all this stuff, quick things. My pointer finger's moving around quickly, press. But it's a little bit weirder to press W, so I like to have casted things on W and Q is kind of where I put some casted type of spells, right? So W feels great for Regrowth there. Rejuvenation heals the target. This is just a super easy heal. So I'm going to do, and remember Life Bloom? We talked about Life Bloom defaulting to R. I'm putting Rejuvenation there, and Life Bloom's on T. So my main heal, my main easy mode heal is R, which is just a super simple Rejuvenation. And I'm just like, again, I don't necessarily know, and maybe it says it right here. Keep Rejuvenation on an active tank and players with the debuffs. Life Bloom on a take, but put on yourself during group damage. Otherwise, put your second Life Bloom on whoever's taking. Oh, see, there's a limit. There's a limit to Life Bloom. Maybe on 2 targets at a time. Perfect. That's exactly why it's on T instead of R. R is my spammable ability. It's the thing I can just freaking go to town on, right? T is a little bit different than that. T is going to be one notch over. It has a little bit of situations to it. Maybe it's a little bit AoE focused. Maybe it has charges to it. Maybe it's proc based. Who knows, right? So this is perfect. This feels great. I want to go heal right now. Boom, there's a heal, there's a Life Bloom, there's my ability. Also right here, this feels terrible to have that reticle come up. So in general, do I have something already with it? Mouseover, no, that's a Mouseover. So I'm going to go over here and grab one of my AoE slots, cursor. There we go. So there's my cursor macro. I'm going to go back in here, new macro, enter in a new macro, /cast, and I'm going to /cast at cursor, efflorescence. Wow, that's a crazy word to spell. So now I'm replacing efflorescence right there, and now I can just press G, and there we go. I press G, there we go. I press G, there we go. Oh, that's so much better. Oh, so much better. And that's just a simple macro tooltip that's in the macro video. I'll put that in the description as well. So boom, there we go. Awesome. And then now, go back to the spell book. Right, so we're going on through here. Rejuvenation has bumped down Life Bloom. Revive. This is now Revitalize. Return all dead party members and revives a single party member. I'm gonna put this over here because why am I'm probably just always gonna use Revitalize. Why would I ever use Revive? So I don't need that at all. Cat form. I'm gonna shift back into cat form real quick and put on Rip onto my bar. Literally, I don't care about where these are. So in fact, I will care about them in a second once I put them all there. Soothe, where's Soothe? Soothe is H. On my druid, Soothe is H. So I'm gonna put Soothe on H. Interesting. I did not know that I did that. Okay, so then that means this Mark of the Wild situation I'm gonna put over here right now, and this is just on the mouse button, so I can just easily press a mouse button. It's a really far back mouse button. It's like in the weirdest spot. It's actually the worst mouse button on the entire mouse is where this was on there, but at least it's on there and it's quick. And so far, it's not looking like I'm gonna be too overloaded right now. And then Soothe is good, and oh my gosh, we got so many abilities. Stampeding Roar. Ooh. Stampeding Roar. So let me shift back into human form. Stampeding Roar on my druid is A. Because I run in there, I just fast, run in there, and all that kind of stuff. So that feels right and it feels good. But I don't know if I like that. And on my druid, Oh, you know what? No, I'm switching it. I'm switching it up. Check this out. Now I'm not gonna. Okay, on my druid, I'm gonna switch things to where my stampeding roar is on my mouse because I really that's what it used to be. So on my guardian druid, right? In fact, and I will do this. I will do this just to show the mirroring of original spec versus new spec. So on this now, I have a long cooldown, a minute long cooldown right here. And I have my Stampeding Roar and Sprint right here. I'm going to move these. I'm going to put Stampeding Roar on my mouse. I'm going to put that on A. I'm going to take this dash cat form and put it right there. So I have two movement abilities. So on my mouse, I have interrupts on the bottom part. I have movement speed on the top part, and I have a cooldowns on the top part above that, right? So now I have that all feels much better there. That all feels much better, and that lets me be able to move Heart of the Wild, a 5-minute cooldown, to caps lock. Because in general, I like to have a tanking cooldown on A that's has a shorter cooldown, more so in the rotation, like a 45-second 1-minute cooldown on A, and then a big tanking cooldown on caps lock, right? So that pinky action is in a similar direction, right? And now that lets me move Typhoon right here. So now if I press the lower mouse button, I'm interrupting. The middle mouse button helps me sprint, and the top mouse button is the pushback, the Typhoon push. That feels really good. That looks really good. I love that. So now I'm going to take that into consideration whenever I go back and to my restoration situation, and that should help things kind of fall into place and fit there a little bit more as well. So now I can do that same thing where I have my Stampeding Roar here, my cat dash form there, cool, and that frees up A and caps lock. So that's pretty nice. It's pretty nice, pretty nice. Awesome, love it. And so now these are the types of moves, these are the types of shifts and changes you make as you build out all of these choices and stuff. So Sunfire, oh, it's another weird thing. I'm going to put Sunfire over here with Moonfire. Because these are my two dots and stuff. I don't know how often I'm going to be using those, but there we go. Swiftmend, I know Swiftmend is going to be a little bit more, it consumes regrowth, wild growth, rejuvenation to instantly heal an ally. So Swiftmend heals the target. So that is probably going to be my mouse wheel scroll up. I like the quickness of it. Toot, toot, toot. Or you know what? It's probably going to be mouse wheel scroll down. Yeah, so I'm gonna pop the healing on a target. I'm gonna be able to hold my mouse over and scroll there, pop the healing on it, and just get a little quick heal with a little mouse over. Done. Swipe is a bear thing. Going into bear form, get my swipe. I'm gonna AOE. Like I said, swipe is AOE, so I'm gonna put that there. And thrash is AOE, so I'm actually gonna put swipe there, mangle there. This taunt actually, this growl is actually on the bar already, so we're good at that. And we're cool there. And then swipe's done, thrash is done, got travel form already. Ursol's Vortex is a cooldown situation. So it's a minute long cooldown. Oh, this is the thing with the swirling winds and it pulls in the direction of all that kind of stuff, right? In fact, interestingly, on my talent loadout, do I have Typhoon? Do I have Typhoon? I don't have Typhoon, right? Interesting. So for the sake of simplicity, right? I'm going to put, wait, where's my, there we go. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to put Typhoon where I normally would put Ursol's, or I'm going to put Ursol's Vortex where I normally would have Typhoon. So that same button that did Ursol's Vortex, now it's doing the Typhoon situation. So that feels good. I could also put it right here. If I ever wanted to have both of them, I could easily put that right there so they're in a similar spot doing similar things. Cool. In fact, I'll even leave it right there on my mouse button just in case I want to leave this mouse button spot open for Typhoon, because it is possible for me to get Typhoon. I don't know if Druids would really get that. In fact, you know what? I don't know if Druids ever get Typhoon. Let's find out if they do. Typhoon, one dude. One person out of the top 50 get Typhoon. So I'd say I'm not going to be innovating the game here on the Resto Druid, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in right there where Typhoon normally is. Ursol's Vortex, cool. Wild Charge, ooh, Wild Charge, that's my scroll up. Oh, hey, I still have the ability to scroll up, so there we go. So scrolling up, I can Wild Charge to somebody, and I can get to their position, fly to an ally's near position. Cool. That's the same thing as my Bear Druid. Got it, done. There's my Wild Charge. Wild Growth. Ooh, 10-second cooldown. Heals 5 injured allies within 30 yards of a target, and the healing starts high, and then it climbs over the duration. So this is a casted time. It's a cast time. It's going on Q. Absolutely done. 100%. And there we go. So there's Q. Easy. And then... oh, Wild Growth. Okay, cool. All right, so then I have my two casted abilities on Q and W, instant abilities on the other side. This is feeling great. Absolutely great. And then the last thing we have is Wrath. Do I cast Wrath? Do druids cast Wrath? I feel like they go into cat form. I feel like they go into cat form and do stuff. So are we doing this? Are we doing this? That's interesting. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have a very interesting macro that you guys might like. I will put this in the description as well. I'm going to do a help harm macro. Yep, right here, help harm. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to highlight this whole help harm macro and copy it over into here. Okay, copy. Here's what this is going to do. I've realized that Moonfire is an instant cast damaging ability. Rejuvenation is an instant cast healing ability. Those two can be the same button, right? So I'm going to merge them together. So this tooltip, it makes it to where if I'm holding my cursor over an enemy, it casts the enemy spell. If I'm holding it over an ally, it casts the ally spell. So this is the mouse over. So this says flash heal. I'm going to go to where it says flash heal. I'm backspacing flash heal only, and I'm going to be putting in rejuvenation. Done, right? And then mouse over harm, if it's the bad spell, I'm going to go to where it says smite, because this was a thing I made for my priest. Smite, this is the bad spell. This is Moonfire. Moonfire. Done. And then a harm spell, smite. So anytime I see the word smite, I'm putting in my harm spell, which in this case is Moonfire. And anytime I see flash heal, I'm going to put in the thing that says the good spell, which I don't know how to spell rejuvenation. Rejuvenation. And now whenever I click save, bingo bango, you see it automatically updates. This one button now is now both, right? And you'll be able to see this here in action. So let me fly down here to the training grounds. So that single button, when I press R, it is now going to be a heal for my heal or a damage. So right here, you can see it right there. See how it's Moonfire? And now it's rejuvenation. It's Moonfire, rejuvenation, Moonfire, rejuvenation. You can see it changing right there, right? Back and forth, back and forth. So now if I'm targeting a bad guy, it's Moonfire. If I'm targeting myself, it's rejuvenation. If I mouse over a bad guy, it's Moonfire. If I mouse over myself, it's rejuvenation. It's an amazing, amazing macro that is a game changer, an absolute literal game changer. So now I don't need Moonfire on my bars anymore. Boop, it's gone. And now I can do the same thing with Sunfire. Sunfire, so slash macro. I can do the exact same thing in the exact same way, and it is a game changer. So flash heal and backspace and that. You get the idea, right? So this has been some of the, so wait, flash heal is, so now I'm doing life bloom, right? And I'm just doing this, and that's exactly how I think of this. I look for these type of things once I've gotten to the point where I did just right here in this video, is get to the point where I have all my things. I'm like, which ones can I combine? Especially healers can do this. And even on my monk has a soothing mist, a soothing channeled heal, and they have a chain lightning. Those are the same type of thing, a help and harm version, so I switch them out, right? It just makes so much sense, and it's just so smooth to be able to do it. So the smite situation now is going to be Sunfire. That's done, and then this smite change to Sunfire. And now we have just literally taken 4 abilities and turned them into Sunfire, turned them into 2. We've cut them in half. There's my life bloom. Put my life bloom on there. We are good to go now. So when I hold this cursor over this and I press life bloom, it's Sunfire, and I hold it over myself, or I target myself or whatever, and there's the life bloom, right? Absolutely done. So that is now, this is now off the bar, and I've freed up 2 entire buttons. This is very good for shamans, flame shock, flame shock versus lava versus your healing spells, all this kind of stuff, riptide, all of that, right? So now back to my spellbook here. Wrath can now go on 4. So Wrath can go on 4 because I didn't know what I was really going to do with that. In fact, I still don't know what I want to do with that. I'm going to fly back to my spot here. All right. So Wrath is in a weird spot. I don't really know what I want to do with it. I feel like I got to put it on 4 or 5. I'm going to put it on 5. Okay. In fact, I'm going to put it on 6. I'm going to put it on 6. I really just don't see myself using Wrath. And if the spot stays open for afterwards, then so be it. So here we go. Now, the last thing I have here is to put in these abilities. I have these cooldown type things. I got to put them in, and let's see how that looks, right? So I have my available buttons there are A and caps lock. That's for sure going to be quick things that I want to be able to do. I have my what else do I have open? I have 3, 4, and 5 open. I have all of my shift buttons open, which are going to be my healing cooldowns, and I have my oh, interrupt. Druids don't have an interrupt. That's so strange. That's so strange. Druids don't have an interrupt. And it was Skull Bash. Well, hold up. Let me. Am I going crazy? Is Skull Bash is right there, and people don't pick it up. And if I look here, nobody picks up Skull Bash. So yeah, this is a completely empty button now. So I have this mouse button for Druids is a completely open button. That's crazy. Okay, so what would I want to put on this mouse button that's normally an interrupt? It's normally an interrupt, but it's never going to be an interrupt. So I'm going to put Ursol's Vortex down there, right? Because this little Ursol's Vortex pulling people in, doing something weird, it's more of a crowd control type thing. It could interrupt spells if they get displaced and all that kind of stuff too. And yeah, and then that's perfect. Okay, so now, Barkskin. On my Druid, Barkskin is Shift T. Shift T. So I'm going to put it right there on Shift T. That feels good. That feels right. But on a healer, these are defensive cooldowns for other people. And my defensive cooldowns for myself are going to be on 3, 4, and 5. So I'm going to put that on 3. Unless I have some other self-heal type of situation. I'm putting that on 3. And that feels right on 3 for myself. It's a self-defensive, right? And then this is a percentage defensive. In general, percentage defensives I put on Shift R. And then Nature Swiftness, and I have these 2 quick abilities too. Adaptive Swarm and Cenarian Ward are very important, as we learned here in this little Druid guide thing. Cenarian Ward right there, Adaptive Swarm, super important. So those are top tier importance right there. So I need to put Adaptive Swarm on A. 100% putting Adaptive Swarm on A. Cenarian Ward, this like shield type thing. Oh, that's rough. Where did I put that? This is too. It's a 30-second cooldown, so it's too quick to put on a shift button. I want to put it on a quick button. So I think Cenarian Ward is going to have to go. Oh, am I putting it on the scroll wheel? Am I putting it on a scroll wheel? You know what? I'm gonna go a little crazy right here. I'm gonna put Wild Charge. I'm moving it off because too many times mouse rule scrolling. I don't know. I don't see myself mouse wild charging all the time on this Druid. So I'm gonna put the wild charge over here, and it's right next to my other movement ability, so that feels fine. And then I'm gonna be able to put Cenarian Ward right here. So now I have Swift Mend for a quick heal and Cenarian Ward for a quick shield. Like a big shield and a big quick heal on somebody is my mouse wheel. Ho, hey, situationally. Right, with a cooldown, so it's not like I'm going to be scrolling all over the place, right? So that feels good, and then it feels fine there. And then we still have our defensive cooldowns here. And then I already am seeing Nature Swiftness be caps lock. Nature Swiftness being caps lock, pang! Just hitting it real quick, caps lock. I feel like that feels right. Oh wait, but Nature Swiftness, your next regrowth, rebirth, or entangling roots is instant. Rebirth, regrowth. Ooh, you know what? What if Nature Swiftness was Shift W, and then it's too weird of a but. Shift W is too much of a hand cramp to be able to do that. So I'm gonna keep it on caps lock for right now. Keep it on caps lock because that's an easy button to press, and then W. Ooh, but in fact, that's so interesting. If I scroll up though. Scroll up is a really good Nature Swiftness thing. So I want to put this where my cat form is, right? I really think the perfect button would be Shift Mouse Wheel Up. So if I was a full-blown main Resto Druid, I would move my cat form around somewhere else, and I would put it right here. But I'm trying to stick to my Guardian Druid roots, so I'm not going to do that. So I'll come back to Nature Swiftness. Let's keep doing these other ones. So Convoke Spirits, Tranquility. Oh, Tranquility 100% is Shift G. In the same way that I have G be this like area of effect spell, Shift G is the area of effect around me, big spell. So that Tranquility feels perfect there. Convoke Spirits being Shift T is also next to my bigger cooldowns on the Shift button. That feels good. Innervate is in my mana situation, so that's going to be very friendly target, invoke with energy, and get my mana back. Oh, that's interesting. So again, it's a personal get my mana back. I'm going to put it at Shift V right now. So then we have all of my shift abilities, my 2 and 3 minute cooldown. So Shift T, Shift G, Shift V, all of my cooldown abilities. Usually Shift G is an area of effect type of long cooldown, and Shift V is a utility one. So Innervate definitely fits under the utility category, so that feels good. Flourish, I don't know what Flourish does. It extends the duration of all of your heal over time effects on friendly targets within 60 yards or 8 seconds. Wow. And increase the rate of your heal over time effects by 100%. Oh, wow. Okay, so it's just like a boost. It's just a heal over time boost. That is interesting. So let me see where I can put this. I've already moved my mouse wheel so that my mouse wheel up and down is good here. This is now a movement ability, so it feels weird to put something like that here. Middle mouse is always my trinkets. Middle mouse button is trinket 1. Middle mouse, shift middle mouse is trinket 2. So I can't do that. This is all off limits. So I really only have 4 and 5 left, which makes me really thankful that I put 4 and 5 and I did the macro thing that I just did to free up those spots. So I'm going to put that on 4. And then this is probably going to go on 5 for 30 seconds. All single target healing spells also damage nearby enemy targets. Awesome. So I'm putting this one on 4 and this one on 5. There. Actually, no. I'm going to switch those. I'm going to switch those back. So now 5 is a little bit damage oriented right next to Wrath. Cool. 5 and 6. And then 4 is the Flourish thing right next to my defensive on 3. And then that's fine. So I'll take that. So there's my defensive on 3. And there's my abilities. So now I know what I'm doing here. I got my heal over time. I got my life blooms. I got my casted heals. I got my rejuvenation casted heals. I got a caps lock regrowth, and I can do that pretty quickly. Caps lock regrowth, 2 different fingers to press it. Pinkies for caps lock, W is for regrowth, or ring fingers for regrowth. So we're good there, and we're good, right? So that feels great. Now I just shift into cat form. And in general, I would put my spammable thing on R and T, my combos on finishers on W and Q. That feels fine, however often I'm in cat form. If I go to bear form, same thing. That feels and looks fine. I have my iron bark thing like we talked about. That's good. And we're done. So if I were to take the growl, right, if I were to be a main Resto Druid, I would not have shift scroll up and down be my forms. I would not have C be taunt. I would have C be soothe. I would put soothe right here on C. That's what I would do if I was a main Resto Druid. And I would also put nature swiftness on shift scroll wheel up. And I would probably put convoke or tranquility on shift scroll wheel down. And then I'd move my bear forms to X and possibly C or X or mouse buttons. But either way, even as I'm describing that, like, oh, where do you put your travel? Where do you put all these forms, right? I feel fine leaving them where I can use it there. So we are good to go with the Restoration Druid. I hope that helped get you your know what the heck's going on, what's important, right? As you start to figure out these dungeons and raids you're doing, or PvP or whatever, it helps you get your. This is a great tool to be able to get your character in the right spot. And now you got to go practice. So good luck, stay creative, think outside the box. Peace.